let's dive in. We will start first up with maybe the most exciting offensive team in this division. That will be the Minnesota Vikings. So come on in and let's dive into these guys. So in Kevin O'Connell's first year as the play caller for the Minnesota Vikings, he was always historically part of the Rams. He's the offensive coordinator, kind of more so entitled in actual action, given Sean McVay mostly led the charge there. But he did learn to be a much pass happier guy than typical for the league average. All those Rams offenses outside of one were 60% or higher pass rate. And then O'Connell gets his own offense last year with the Vikings, his first year truly being the lead play caller. And he gets even pass happier, 63% pass to 37% rush last year. I expect something quite similar in 2023. They had a great offense. They were one of the top teams in the league. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type of mentality. So I project over 670 pass attempts, 676 to be exact, 411 rush attempts, that nice 62, 38% pass to rush ratio. I think that's pretty fair projections here. And that does mean, just like they were last year in terms of top 5 in the league in pass attempts, Kirk Cousins will be right in that top 5 in pass attempts. Now, last year, he ultimately did not put up humongous numbers. I know I projected him pretty high. He was about 300 yards short of where I had him finishing. But man, he was expected to put up around 5K yards, and ultimately his efficiency was not the greatest there. And he ultimately put up around 4,500 yards. I do think this could be the year. Last week of the season, he didn't play a ton, given they were already firmly locked into their playoff spot. I think this could be the year. I don't expect the Vikings to be quite as good real life-wise, record-wise. They'll be contending right down to the stretch. And I think that could be all Kirk Cousins needs with the addition of very exciting rookie Jordan Addison, a year of ascension for KJ Osborne, and then a full year of TJ Hockenson. I really think this could be the year he breaks 5Ks. Career high was 4,900 quite a few years back. I think this might be the year he breaks into that threshold. As you can see, on 440 attempts, I have him going for 5,136 yards, 29 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He could definitely break into that 30 touchdown range. He was 29 last year, and with these improved weapons, 29 seems like a very nice floor to project him at, with the upside to get even further. Did lose Thielen, a nice touchdown scorer for him throughout the years he's been in Minnesota. So I thought keeping him steady with those touchdowns made the most sense. But that's a big aerial pie, especially yardage-wise, to be dividing around these mouths. Now, we obviously know one of the biggest mouths here will be Justin Jefferson. So let's just quickly look at our target distribution. 28% share, a whopping 189 targets. I have projected going to Justin Jefferson right around what he saw last year, 27% share, 186 targets, and only getting better and better as that Cooper Kupp style role, moving them all over the place. Some layup targets out of the slot, still averaged, right around a 70% catch rate, even though he was over 14 yards of reception. So I think he gets the biggest slice. Behind him, TJ Hockenson, after he joined the Vikings, he was on pace for over 135 targets, which is incredible. 8.1 targets per game after he joined this team. Very, very few tight ends in the league see that type of volume. So I have TJ Hockenson going right now for 128 targets, a 19% share, catching most of those high volume dink and dunk, a perfect fit for Kirk Cousins. He became an instant security blanket for a quarterback who likes his security blankets more than any other quarterback in the league. He might be 3rd and 15, and he'll still go for the 6-yard pass to TJ Hockenson. So I definitely think another high volume, maybe not the highest efficiency, but not bad. 90 catches, 963, and 8 touchdowns there for TJ Hockenson on 28 targets. I think he finishes second in this team on receiving. And then it becomes who comes out the most between these wide receiver 2s and 3s, and Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne. I think Addison might edge him out slightly in the volume department. He similarly fits Kirk Cousins' style very well. As a nice slot guy, will definitely do a lot of damage underneath. We'll see if he can improve getting off the press at the NFL level. That was a big concern for him as a coming in now. When he was a senior in college, now he goes to the NFL. He wasn't great even in college at getting off the press. So I don't love Addison compared to some people out there, compared to a lot of the other rookie receivers. I wasn't as high on him as some others, but he is silky smooth. And in just a slot role, he could end up being a bigger volume beast than I project him for. Maybe I do have him in KJ Osborne a little too close. As you can see, 16% for Addison, 15% for Osborne. I just really like KJ Osborne. Anytime Thielen has missed, he's been an absolute stud, averaging close to 18 fantasy points per game in the games that he is the clear-cut number 2 receiver. So he might not ever be that clear-cut number 2 with Jordan Addison here, and certainly TJ Hockenson, a huge mouth to feed. But I think he does take a nice little step up and is more consistent in all the 2 receiver sets. I know the coach loves him there too. He continues to rave about Osborne, who averages 12 plus yards per reception in both of his career seasons and right around 62 to 65% catch rate. So ultimately, how does the efficiency shake out from there? I do also give 8% to Alexander Mattison. I expected a bit more pass game work going to Dalvin Cook in the run game last year. Didn't happen, was definitely something I predicted that did not work out. I thought Kevin O'Connell, the Rams, Todd Gurley style usage coming for Dalvin Cook, not quite. So I don't have much more going to the backs, but right, last year they were around 15% or so total percentage going to the backs. That's where I have this going this year. But let's look again at the production I'm projecting for these pass catchers. Again, it leads the way with Justin Jefferson, 189 targets, 129 receptions, 1,896 yards and 9 touchdowns. His touchdowns are really the only thing lacking. There's no reason the guy can't score 14 to 15 touchdowns. If that happens, he's already the number 1 projected overall player at receiver. Just really overall in the league, especially in these underdog drafts where it's receiver heavy, he almost always is the first guy off the board. So if that touchdown percentage, he's a beast, a big body. He can use the frame well. He's quick off the line. There's no reason he shouldn't be scoring 12 to 15 touchdowns, and that certainly could happen. But I'm just projecting in career line averages what I expect from him. He typically gets doubled near the stripe. So 1,896 yards, 9 touchdowns with the upside to definitely go for 2K. This offense really gets humming. Behind him, like I said, Addison and Osborne projecting out pretty similarly. I think more touchdowns for Osborne makes sense. I don't expect Addison to be a monster either deep or in the red zone. So 4-ish touchdowns. That's why I do actually like drafting KJ Osborne, especially at the price tags ahead of Addison. Addison going around round 10, Osborne more of a round 15 guy. Both of them coming out there in similar yards, 785 for Addison, 724 for Osborne, but a few more touchdowns going to Osborne, a few more receptions going to Addison. So in PPR, certainly a little more appealing to have Addison, but at their price tags, if I expect them to be this similar, definitely give me the guy going, 60 picks later in KJ Osborne. And then TJ Hockenson, as I said, the second biggest slice with 128 targets, 90 catches, 963 and 8 touchdowns for how I expect this aerial pie to shake out. Mattison hauling in 40 of his 54 targets, right around 276 yards. Cook always around that 300 yards range. I do think maybe a slight step back in Mattison's efficiency, but he's been always really good and a touchdown there. But talking about Alexander Mattison and this ground game, I do really expect good things for Mattison as a runner, just given how much he has thrived historically in that lead role whenever Dalvin Cook has missed time. In fact, I'm going to bump this yards per carry up live here and see what this does to shake things out. I think 4.3, I mean, that's right along his career average, and that definitely boosts him up by about 100 yards or so, even just that 0.4 bump in yards per carry, which I do, again, think is very warranted. Given you look at his games without Dalvin Cook so far in his career, he's got some soft defenses. I know a lot of people pointed that out and kind of harped on the fact that he has. But ultimately, in games without Dalvin Cook, 6 times across his career, he is on pace for nearly 1,400 rushing yards, 1,352 on 332 attempts. Definitely improves as a receiver with 65 catches as well, on pace for 20.3 points per game, 346 fantasy points in his 6 games without Dalvin Cook. That would be a top 3 running back if he was able to sustain that pace all year. I don't think he does. I don't think Alexander Madison's a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a good volume guy. Whenever he gets it, he does seem to get better and better as the game goes on. He just knows how to find the end zone as well. So I like Alexander Mattison. I think he can be a very quality RB2 going in that 5-6 range. I think he definitely makes a lot of sense in the career of the Minnesota Viking running backs for the last 5 years. The lead guy has seen 65% or higher of the backfield carries. So 64% feels right in line with what I think Mattison can do, especially because Chandler, Dwayne McBride are the guys behind him. They might mix in for a combined 30% or so behind Mattison. But this will be the Mattison show, assuming they are done making moves. There are rumblings Zeke could end up there, and that could get pretty nasty. But let's assume that it is the Mattison show. 1,131 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns. That's the one thing he didn't do a ton of when Cook was out, and kind of encouraging in that sense. He racked up so many points without being a touchdown maven. He was on pace for 8 touchdowns on the year. So I think he does finish right around 1,400 total yards, right around 9 to 10 total touchdowns, and 40 or so receptions. Again, a beastly quality RB2 season. I like him at his price tag quite a bit. He goes right around Joe Mixon, so I do prefer Mixon, as you guys saw in the AFC North projections. But Mattison, nonetheless, a guy that a lot of people seem to be really down on. And at the end of the day, volume is all that matters at running back, really. Volume definitely dictates usage much more at receiver. Because your quarterback, you need to be open for your quarterback to throw it to you, or have at least that trust to throw to contested. Running back, you get the ball, you're going to continue to pad your stats, even if you're not all that great of a player. Snaps is like the highest correlation, and I think he's going to be in a 70% or higher snap share type of role. So that wraps up my Vikings takes. Again, summarizing it, Justin Jefferson, well worth your number 1 overall pick. I do prefer McCaffrey in redraft, but in best ball, I like Jefferson a lot. Could see that touchdown spike to 15 and just be an absolute machine. Cousins, I do think, crosses that 5K yardage barrier, which does give a ton of aerial pie for Jefferson, as well as those behind him. And that 29 touchdowns, I mean, just if we did see Jefferson spike, if TJ Hockenson spikes, we could see that touchdown total go from 29 to 35, 40, and that would make Cousins a monster at his price tag. But to me, I see him staying a little bit in line with the touchdowns of his career. He does have a couple 30, 33 is his career high touchdowns in a single season. Maybe he gets there alongside 5K, and that's still a nice price at his 10th or so round ADP. So that's my Vikings takes. Quality RB2 in Mattison. Like Osborne at his price more than I like Addison. I haven't drafted much of him since I project these guys pretty similar, but at a much steeper discount comes Osborne. I think round 5 or so, right around Mark Andrews in terms of projection, but 2+ round discount. I really, really like Hockenson and where he's going right now in drafts. He was just a volume hog once he got to Minnesota. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.